The Marlins take on the Nationals, 1:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Miami's minus 130, totals 9. And if you like the Nationals in an upset at home, they're plus 105 for some money line cash. They're also minus 160, catching the 1.5 on the run line. Josh Rogers on the mound for Washington, Trevor Rogers for the Marlins. We went 5-0 in our 5 premium sports picks on my BrockPage.com website yesterday. And if you want to see which one of these free YouTube picks I'm actually betting on personally, there's only one way to do that, and that's to sign up for a membership on my website. Once again, that's BrockPage.com. We're also 5-1 in our last 6 extra daily picks on that very same webpage. And if you want to access today's extra daily pick, it's only going to cost you just $2.99. We currently have over 775 members who are signed up and active on that site. And once again, if you want to see which one of these free YouTube picks that I'm actually betting on personally, there's only one way to do that, and that's to sign up for a membership on my website. And once again, that's BrockPage.com. Now, when it comes to this game here today between the Marlins and the Nationals, we're going to take a look at a few factors here. And despite some really good stuff out of Trevor Rogers this season for Miami, the lefty comes into today's matchup with a lackluster 7-7 record. The Marlins are winning just 31% of their road games. Their lineup's averaging just 3.7 runs a game when they travel. They're taking on a Nationals team who won 2 out of their last 3. And they also rank in the top 5 in hitting. Juan Soto is batting .313 with 25 home runs and 84 ribbies. The outfielder is in the top 10 in the league in both batting average and OPS. Josh Rogers also comes into today's contest with a .365 ERA. And when it comes to the total on this one, the Nats are 41-33 to the under on their home field. Meanwhile, the Marlins are 7-3 to the under in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Miami Marlins plus 1.5 and the under 9 runs. Next matchup, Brewers versus the Tigers, 1:10 p.m. East. The Milwaukee Brewers are minus 240, totals 8.5. Brandon Woodruff for Milwaukee, Matt Manning for Detroit. Manning's just 3-6 on the season, 6.14 ERA, and a 1.59 whip. This Detroit lineup's in the bottom 10 in home scoring, and they average nearly double-digit strikeouts a game at the plate. They're taking on a first-place Brewers club who won 7 out of their last 9 ball games, and they also lead the majors in striking batters out. Brandon Woodruff's fanned 191 batters already. He's got a 2.48 ERA and a .97 whip. This Brewers pitching staff holds their opponents to just 6.5 hits a game on the road. When it comes to the total on this one, Milwaukee's gone 36-30 to the under in divisional play. Meanwhile, the Tigers are 44-30 to the under at Comerica Park. I'm going to lean toward the Milwaukee Brewers minus 1.5 and the under 8.5 runs. Next ball game, it is going to be Rays versus the Blue Jays, 3:07 Eastern Standard Time. Toronto's minus 170, totals 8.5. Robbie Ray for Toronto, Michael Wacha for Tampa Bay. Now, Wacha struck out 104 batters with the Rays this season. The first-place Rays have the best record in the American League, and they lead the majors in scoring. Brandon Lau's hit 34 home runs and driven in 85. Austin Meadows, he's also 7th in the bigs with 99 RBI. Now they're taking on a Blue Jays club who's got a losing home record against the AL East. Toronto's won just 14 out of 31 divisional home games. And when it comes to the total on this one, Toronto went 60% to the over in their last 10 ball games. Tampa Bay's 8-2 to the over in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Tampa Bay Rays plus 1.5 and the over 8.5 runs. Next matchup, Red Sox versus the Mariners, 4:10 p.m. Eastern start time. The Boston Red Sox are minus 130, totals 8.5. Tanner Houck for Boston, Marco Gonzalez for Seattle. Gonzalez is 8-5 on this season, 88 strikeouts and a 1.23 whip. This Mariners pitching staff is in the top 5 in fewest walks allowed at home. They're taking on a Boston club who lost 6 out of their last 9, and they rank in the bottom 3 in hits allowed. Tanner Houck's 0-4 thus far in the year. When it comes to the total in this one, 6 out of Boston's last 10 ball games got over the number. Meanwhile, Seattle's a stunning 11-0 to the over in their last 11 straight. They also saw 9 out of their last 10 meetings with Boston get over the line as well. I'm going to lean toward Seattle plus 1.5 and the over 8.5 runs. Next matchup, Reds versus the Pirates, 6:35 East. Cincinnati's minus 140, totals 9. Vlad Gutierrez for Cincinnati, Mitch Keller for Pittsburgh. Now, Keller's just 4-11 with a 6.29 ERA and a 1.77 whip. The last place Pirates have the second fewest wins in the National League, and they're dead last in the league in scoring. They're taking on a Cincinnati team who's in the top 10 in scoring. Who's writing this stuff? Use different words. Nick Castellanos, he's batting .314 with an OPS of 944. He's in the top 10 in the league in both of those categories. Meanwhile, Joey Votto, he's hit 30 home runs and knocked in 87. The first baseman's also 11th in the league with a 909 OPS. Meanwhile, pitching-wise, Vlad Gutierrez comes into today's matchup with a 9-6 record. Now, total-wise, 5 out of Cincinnati's last 7 road games fell under the line. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh is 4-3 to the under in their last 7 at PNC Park. I'm going to lean toward the Cincinnati Reds minus 140 in the under 9. Next ball game, Cubs, Phillies, 7:05 Eastern first pitch. Philadelphia's minus 195, totals 9. Ranger Suarez for the Fightins. Alec Mills for Chicago. And as bad as Chicago's been, Alec Mills is still 6-6 on the season with 75 strikeouts. Chicago also won 6 out of their last 10 ball games, 60% against the number during that stretch. They're taking on a struggling Phillies club who lost 7 out of their last 10, and that includes a trio of losses at home to Colorado. This Philadelphia lineup is in the bottom 10 in home scoring, bottom 10 in home hits. And when it comes to the scoring in this one, Philadelphia is 7-3 to the under in their last 10 ball games, 4-1 to the under in their last 5 at home. Meanwhile, the Cubs are 43-27 to the under in all of their road games. I'm going to lean toward the Chicago Cubs plus 1.5 and the under 9 runs. Next matchup, Yankees, Orioles, 7:05 Eastern start time. New York's minus 190, totals 9.5. Nestor Cortez for New York. John Means for Baltimore. Now, Means has a 3.42 ERA and a 1.00 whip. And despite a really tough stretch of games for Baltimore, they still successfully cashed in on the run line in 6 out of their last 10 outings. Now, they're taking on a Yankees squad who failed to cash in on the run line in 8 out of their last 10 ball games themselves. This New York lineup is also in the bottom 10 in hits. And despite some pretty good numbers out of Cortez, the lefty here for New York, he's got just 2 wins on the season through 73 1/3 innings of work. Now, when it comes to the number in this one, 3 out of New York's last 4 road games got over the line. Meanwhile, Baltimore is 7-3 to the over in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Orioles plus 1.5 and the over 9.5 runs. Next ball game, Cardinals versus the Mets, 7:10 p.m. East. The New York Mets are minus 175, totals 8. Tyler McGill for New York, John Lester for St. Louis. Now, Lester's gone 2-1 with the Cardinals since joining the club. The Cards are currently on a 4-game winning streak, 6-1 straight up in their last 7. The St. Louis pitching staff's in the top 10 in fewest hits allowed per 9. They're taking on a Mets club who lost 5 out of their last 7, and they score fewer runs at home than any other team in the majors. New York scoring just 3.6 runs per contest at Citi Field. They also have Tyler McGill on the bump here today, who's just 3-4 in the year with a 4.06 ERA. When it comes to the total in this one, 4 out of New York's last 5 home games did get over the number. St. Louis saw 2 out of their last 3 road games get over the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward St. Louis plus 1.5 and the over 8 runs. Next matchup, Rockies, Braves, 7:20 Eastern Standard Time. The Atlanta Braves are minus $2, totals 8.5. Huascar Ynoa for Atlanta, Antonio Senzatella for Colorado. Senzatella is 4-9 with a 4.11 ERA and a 1.30 whip. Colorado's winning just 30% of their road games, and they're dead last in the majors in road hits. They're taking on an Atlanta club who won 5 out of their last 8 themselves, and they also rank in the top 10 in scoring. Freddie Freeman's batting .298 with 30 home runs and 78 RBI. Ozzie Albies is also 10th in the majors with 94 runs batted in. When it comes to the pitching in this one, Huascar Ynoa has a .322 ERA and a 1.00 whip. Ynoa is also averaging over a strikeout an inning. When it comes to the total in this one, Atlanta saw 5 out of their last 7 home games get over the number. Colorado went 60% to the over in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Atlanta Braves minus 1.5 and the over 8.5. Next ball game, Indians versus the Twins, 7:40 Eastern first pitch. Cleveland's minus $1.15, totals 9. Cal Quantrill for Cleveland, Griffin Jax for Minnesota. Jax has a .672 ERA and a 1.37 whip. The last place Twins are 18 games below 500, and they rank in the bottom 3 in runs allowed per contest. They're taking on a Cleveland squad who's allowing just 7.6 hits a game when they travel. Cal Quantrill's 5-3 with a .304 ERA and a 1.20 whip. The righties also struck out 106 batters. Now, total-wise, 2 out of Cleveland's last 3 road games got over the number. Minnesota's 3-2 to the over in their last 5 at Target Field. I'm going to lean toward the Cleveland Indians minus $1.15 in the over 9. Next matchup, Astros Rangers, 8:05 Eastern start time. Houston's minus 210, totals 9. Jose Urquidy for Houston, Kohei Ariara for Texas. Kohei's just 2-3 with a .589 ERA and a 1.36 whip. And despite the recent success, the last place Rangers are still 36 games below 500, and they're striking out just 7.6 batters a game. They're taking on a first place Astros club who won 5 out of their last 8 themselves, and they lead the majors in hits. Michael Brantley's batting .315. He's 4th in the big leagues in that category. Meanwhile, Yordan Alvarez has hit 30 home runs and knocked in 94. The Stros also have Jose Urquidy on the mound here tonight. He's 6-3 with a .351 ERA and a 1.02 whip. I'm going to lean toward the Houston Astros minus 1.5 and the under 9 runs. Next ball game, A's versus the Royals, 8:10 p.m. East. The Oakland A's are minus 140, totals 8.5. Sean Manaea for Oakland, Mike Minor for Kansas City. Minor's 8-12 with a .505 ERA. The Royals are in the bottom 10 in scoring, dead last in walks per 9 at the plate. They're taking on an Oakland squad who's in the top 10 in road scoring, as they're led by Matt Olson, who's hit 34 home runs and knocked in 99. The first baseman's in the top 10 in home runs, RBI, and OPS. This Oakland lineup is also in the top 10 in road hits. Sean Manaea is taking the bump here for Oakland this evening. He's got 9 wins on the year along with a .379 ERA. Manaea struck out 174 batters as well. When it comes to the total in this one, Oakland went 60% to the over in their last 10 ball games. Kansas City 6-4 to the over in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Oakland A's minus 140 in the over 8.5. Next matchup, Angels White Sox, 8:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Chicago's minus 230, totals 9.5. Dallas Keuchel for Chicago, Jansen kicking the junk for Los Angeles. Now, Jansen Junk's got just 3 2/3 innings under his belt, 0-1 record, and a 1.91 whip. The Angels dropped 6 out of their last 8 ball games, and they're in the bottom 10 in the league in runs allowed. They're taking on a first-place White Sox team who's on a 2-game winning streak, and they also rank in the top 5 in hits. Jose Abreu's hit 29 homers and knocked in 107. The first baseman's currently 2nd in the majors in that RBI category. Meanwhile, pitching-wise, Dallas Keuchel's got 8 wins on the year, along with 87 strikeouts. Now, total-wise, 7 out of Chicago's last 10 ball games fell under the line. Meanwhile, the Angels went 60% to the under in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Chicago White Sox minus 1.5 and the under 9.5. Next matchup, Padres-Giants, 9:45 Eastern first pitch. San Diego's minus $1.15, totals 8.5. Joe Musgrove for San Diego, Dom Leone for San Francisco. Now, Leone's got a 1.41 ERA and a 1.03 whip. The first place Giants have the best record in Major League Baseball, and they've already locked up a playoff spot. Their pitching staff leads the majors in fewest walks allowed per 9. They're taking on a Padres club who's on a 5-game losing streak, and they rank in the bottom 10 in the league in hits. Now, total-wise, the Pods are 60% to the over in their last 10 ball games. San Francisco saw 6 out of their last 10 get over the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward the San Francisco Giants plus $1 and the over 8.5. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Diamondbacks versus the Dodgers, 10:10 p.m. Eastern start time. The LA Dodgers are minus 345, totals 8 flat. Julio Urias for LA, Merrill Kelly for Arizona. Kelly's just 7-9 with a 4.30 ERA. The last place D-backs have the worst record in the National League. And they give up more runs on the road than any other team in the Bigs. They're taking on a Dodger club who's on a 5-game winning streak and successfully cashed in on the run line in 4 out of their last 5 home games. Julio Urias is 17-3 on the year with a 2.98 ERA and a 1.03 whip. The lefties also struck out 175 batters. This Dodger pitching staff leads the majors in fewest runs allowed per game. And when it comes to the total in this one, LA's currently 45-29 to the under at Dodger Stadium. I'm going to lean toward the LA Dodgers minus 1.5 and the under 8 runs. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap. Powered to you by my website at brockpage.com, where we went 5-0 yesterday in our 5 premium sports picks on that website. I like Miami plus 1.5 under 9 runs. Milwaukee minus 1.5 under 8.5. Tampa Bay plus 1.5 over 8.5 runs. Seattle plus 1.5 over 8.5. Cincinnati minus 140 under 9 runs. Chicago Cubs plus 1.5 under 9. Baltimore plus 1.5 over 9.5. St. Louis plus 1.5 over 8 runs. Atlanta minus 1.5 over 8.5. Cleveland minus $1.15 over 9 runs. Houston minus 1.5 under 9. Oakland minus 140 over 8.5. Chicago White Sox minus 1.5 under 9.5 runs. San Francisco plus $1 over 8.5. Before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are 5-1 in our last 6 extra daily picks on my brockpage.com website. And if you want to access today's extra daily pick, it's only going to cost you just $2.99. I'm going to lean toward the LA Dodgers minus 1.5 and the under 8 runs. And with that, guys, now it's time for our shout out of the day. And that's going to come from our YouTube platform. And today's shout out goes to my man Eric Birch, who said 2 days ago, "Brock, my man." And, well, Eric, my man. Always good to see Eric Birch in the comment section. I believe his profile picture is some slow pitch softball. I dig that, man. I'm looking for a slow pitch softball league around here myself. But anyway, guys, Eric Birch, always good to see you in the comments section. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on my website at brockpage.com. Now, if you guys do end up getting a membership here today on my website, just keep in mind you're going to get billed the day you sign up, and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a membership here today, you are going to get access to that content all the way through the end of September. And I always tell folks, the earlier in the month that you sign up, the better. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me. right here on YouTube. Yeah, it's YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Wednesday to you. Happy hump day to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at brockpage.com.